Hello, everyone. It is Danielle Weinblatt, and we have another episode of Hiring on All Cylinders. Self-quarantine, work from home, employee health, hiring freezes, furloughs, so much has happened since we last recorded. These are all terms that are becoming commonplace around the globe right now, especially in talent acquisition. As more and more companies are being affected by COVID-19, now more than ever, it's important to share resources and knowledge that can help us all navigate this uncertain time. I'm very, very excited and certainly honored to have SmarRecruiters Founder and CEO, Jerome Ternynck, join the conversation on this episode of Hiring on All Cylinders. Welcome, Jerome.
Thank you for having me, Danielle.
It's great to have you. As someone who's been a leader in the talent acquisition space for many years and even a lieutenant in the French Army before that, I'm excited to hear your insight into how the community can navigate the impact of this crisis. SmarRecruiters is a leading ATS in the market, and its main goal is to make hiring easy. But before we dive into talking about the industry at large, I'd love for you to share with our listeners how you and your team are handling your day-to-day challenges. Let's get started. So what are you doing to lead your team and business during this crisis?
You know, the first thing that I have done, and I encourage my leadership team to do is, in times of crisis, is to lead boldly. By that, I mean making very clear decisions and stepping up as a leader, demonstrating the right level of empathy, and making sure that we reach out to our employees, to our customers, to our prospects, to our partners. So lead boldly is kind of really what I've encouraged my leaders to do. And then from there, about 3 weeks ago, we created a kind of COVID response plan. Because we didn't choose to get into this situation, but we choose how we respond. And so I have now a weekly 7 a.m. call with my leadership team, and we track against a number of actions we decided to go for, and it's actually worked well for us as we transition into remote work and we step up to help our customers and the market as a whole.
I'm curious, as a CEO who's now moved more to remote work, I've been to your office before. I've met the pets that have been in your office. I mean, you typically didn't have a lot of people work from home prior to this crisis. Has it changed your perspective on work from home and remote workers? Do you think it's something that will last?
Yeah, I think remote work is here to last. I've for the longest time I've been advocating the fact that we're just starting to scratch the surface of the impact of modern communication on the way the world gets organized. And, I remember some, 20, 30 years ago, we suddenly had high-speed train in France between my hometown and Paris. And what used to be a 2.5-hour journey now was like a 55-minute just time to read your morning newspaper and get a coffee train. And that completely transformed my hometown that became a suburb of Paris. And I think here we're going to see many countries and cities actually become hot remote locations, just by the nature that they'll have political stability, good climate, and good internet access. And with an airport, they'll become good places for people to work. So I think we're going to see actually a redistribution of remote work globally as much as within countries, obviously. So I'm actually excited for that. It's definitely here to stay. It doesn't go without its challenges, and I think companies have to organize themselves around it. But there's a number of things you can do to actually help your team, but it's definitely here to stay.
Excellent. Very interesting. And you mentioned that you're advising your leadership team to lead boldly. What does leading boldly mean to you?
There are times of effectively peacetime and war times, right? In peace times, you can throw an idea and let people noodle with it, come back with a plan and discuss it and debate and make sure everybody is heard. And in wartime, you might just shrink this process into a short conversation at the end of which you have to be extremely black and white and say, guys, this is what we're going to do. And leaders have to make decisions. And this is what you get paid for. Leading is actually showing people, telling people what we're going to do, why, explaining those decisions clearly, and being very, very prescriptive, much more so than I'm in normal times. And I think people appreciate the guidance. They need the guidance in times of uncertainty. They need to be able to look at their team lead, their manager, their director, their VP, their CEO, whatever you rank in the food chain, and however big your team is. You're here to provide clarity. And that's what I mean by leading boldly.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you have advice for other leaders as they navigate and rework their internal strategies within their own teams? You alluded to the fact that leaders need to be more decisive right now. Any other guidance on specific strategy reworking and things you're thinking about?
Yeah. I mean, my motto right now is don't let a good crisis go to waste. I mean, it's in many ways for us internally, for our customers, for the market. It's a time of change, and in time of change, you can drive change, and you can come out reinforced. And this could be personal, like you're at home. Well, are you going to exercise finally 1 hour a day as you've been promising yourself for the last years and never did it? Are you going to take this course online to upgrade the skills that you wanted to upgrade? So personal, like how are you going to benefit from this time? And it can be inside the team. So we launched, as an example, a project. It's called Project Smarter, which is one of our value, where we effectively ask everything to come up with what is the one process, the one thing that we do that you hate that would make us waste time. And we listed all of these ineffective processes and things going on inside the org, and we're busy killing them and improving them. And we're now celebrating the fact that as an organization, we use this time to become more scalable. We use this time to clean our house. We've been growing at nearly 100% a year for the last, 5-7 years, actually. So there's a lot of things that have happened, lots of history. And so we use this as a cleanup. So this is internal. And we're driving the same message into the market. We're stepping up for our customers. We're stepping up for the market. So I think use this moment to actually do things that you would have otherwise not done, and see this as an opportunity and be bold about it. I'm actually really excited for all the things that are going to get accomplished. I'm obviously really concerned, and I feel for those who are suffering. I'm very concerned for the economy. I have all these concerns. It's not negating the situation, but it's like I said, we didn't choose to be in this situation, but we can choose how we respond.
Yeah. Spoken like a true entrepreneur, always seeing the positive side and the opportunity. So, you talked a little bit about breaking down processes and, getting the entire team involved to do that. That's really interesting. I'm curious as to what other internal communication and initiatives you've put in place to help your current employees deal with what's going on, whether that's being more effective by working from home or even any stress or anxiety they may be feeling right now.
Yeah, so we launched a smart cafe. So it's a Zoom, a virtual Zoom room. It's open 24/5. It's got a decor, and so it like the smart cafe. And we have happenings that are programmed into the smart cafe, and it might be a show your pet hour. It could be the Friday afternoon drinks, but it's also exercising, or it's the launch of our new features for the release in April, or it's changes in our pricing and how we want to do, or it's a customer coming to talk, or it's a partner, or it's ask question to Jerome, or it's and so you end up with actually this place where throughout the day there's just Smartians. So people from Smart Recruiters, we call ourselves Smartians. You have Smartians coming in and just checking in with each other and being part of the conversation. And already it's been 2 weeks and already people are like, hey, Jerome, when this is over, we got to keep the Smart Cafe because it's really nice. Like this place is here to stay. So that has worked. Then we doubled the frequency of our town halls. So we have like bi-weekly town halls. We launched engagement like pulse survey, getting deeper. We just got the result of our pulse survey. By and large, people are doing fine. Like, how are you feeling productive at home? And, the answers were like 8.7 out of 10. But what's concerning me most is like out of the 8.7 out of 10, when you dig, you have like 4, 5, 6 people in the background that are like at 0 or 1 or 2. And they're like, no, I'm struggling. This is not working for me. And so I think we have to make sure that while we design programs and we encourage for the majority of our employees to be productive and engaged and continue to move forward, we have to make sure that nobody's left behind, and we have to do a special effort to actually reach out to each team member personally to have the conversation. So how are you feeling, right? So it's both company-wide programs and personal outreach, I think.
No, I think it's wonderful. I'm curious. I'd love to attend one of these smart cafes. What has been your favorite topic so far? Or what has been the overwhelming favorite of your employees?
So this one's going to be really strange, but so far the favorite one was our information security officer. Just went in there with a session that was called maintaining security while working from home. But he made it so funny and so entertaining that like people were asking for the recording, because all the sessions are recorded, so you can watch them later if you missed it. And people were asking for the recordings, and we have regular IT security trainings and certifications, and usually it's kind of the boring thing, where they say make sure you change your password, but then he really just rocked the house with a session on keep maintaining high levels of IT security while working at home.
Head of information security with a personality. Wow, he's
Indeed.
a rare breed. He's a comedian on the side. That's great. Let's talk a little bit about your customers and what you're hearing from them. What has been, some of the sentiment that your team is hearing, and what are they doing to alleviate some of their challenges? I know you've always emphasized being a great partner, so curious what your team is doing to help your customers, and in general, what the sentiment they're hearing is.
Yeah. So customer sentiment at this moment, I think, falls pretty much into two categories, which is freeze or frenzy. About 30% of our customer base is in hiring frenzy, like they just cannot hire fast enough. That would be all the healthcare and delivery. And there's actually a lot of businesses out there that are just like hand over fist hiring as much as they can. And then the other 2/3 are in pretty much hiring freeze. And we've decided in this time to really step up and unite our customers. And so we've launched a number of initiatives around it. First, we launched regional user groups, Zoom user groups. So we have like over 40 user groups around the world that are happening. So if you're a Smart Recruiters user in San Diego or in Dusseldorf or in Singapore, you actually now have a support system with another 10, 20, 30, 50 heads of TAs that are working in your region. And that's been very, very successful, and we moderate those conversations and speaking up nicely. The second thing we did was offering free trainings. So we thought, if you're at home, let's make the best of this. So we normally have a certification course. So it's like an admin certification. You get a diploma, and you're like a certified admin. You can better use the system. You can also consult and implement software in this way. And so we've made those admin courses, which are instructor-led, like 2 half days, like they're long courses, right? With an exam at the end and so on. So we made those free, and they just pile up like whenever we open a new date, because we limit the capacity as like 50 per session. And so whenever we open a new date, it's just instantly full. So we're actually busy certifying hundreds of people at this point, which I think is a really good, it's really good for our customers. It's also really good for us, because then they're going to go like, oh, I didn't know the system could do this, and they become smarter. And then last but not least, we launched a hiring success masterclass series, so which is really taking our hiring success methodology and putting it out as free classes again, and educating around this. And I really think that right now TA leaders have an opportunity to step up. Like the one thing that TA leaders did not have in the last, I want to say, decade almost, is time, right? This is the one thing we didn't have. We just didn't have the time. We were just busy filling recs. And okay, well, now we have the time. Maybe we have 1 quarter, maybe it's going to be 2 quarters. So how are we going to use this time? And we're trying to really step up in that, and advising TA on how they can make the best use of their time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think those are some great things. You know, the free online courses are definitely ramping, and the demand and popularity. I know all of the MOOCs are offering them, so why not provide the same type of knowledge gathering to the talent acquisition industry? So that's super cool. You know, there's a lot of people right now that are very concerned, though. You know, they are maybe looking for more strategic avenues and learning more about systems and technology, but they're also a little unnerved about what's going on in the marketplace. So what advice can you give to talent acquisition professionals about how they can stay successful right now or remain in control as much as possible?
I think the reality is, in every organization, the CFO, the CEO, the C-suite is going to be looking for efficiency gains and cost savings. Now is a good time for TA professionals to step up and think about the function in those terms, not in faster and cheaper, like the cost per hire, but in really, how can we actually add more value and be a better partner to the business? If you take this length of thinking, there's dozens of things that you can come up with that would be really useful. Can start by saying, okay, how do we measure our business? We used to measure time to fill, cost per hire, faster and cheaper. Those metrics are driving us to the ground. We're not adding value. Let's change the way we measure success. Then let's start measuring hiring velocity. So what percentage of jobs are filled on time, which translate to business velocity. And the CEO that's what they want to hear. Let's start measuring our net hiring score. So we actually have an output and a measure of quality of hire that we can actually step up and say, hey, these are the quality of people we're hiring. We can look at sourcing and say, we've been calling people on LinkedIn for the last decade, and how can we actually help automate sourcing? How can we deploy CRM capabilities and campaigning in these times that would make it more effective? All the way to, we never had time to do proper interview scorecards, and therefore we make too many approximate hiring decisions, which could lead to hiring mistakes or mediocre hires. Like, let's revamp our hiring scorecards, interview scorecards, and have proper criteria for decision. Like there's like dozens of areas of TA where you can step up and actually justify a good project that will lead to efficiency gains, keep your teams engaged, and keep adding value to the business. Obviously, I wouldn't be selling an ATS if I didn't say that if you are on an old version of an ATS, that you've been kicking the can down the road for a few years, thinking, yeah, maybe 1 more year I'll keep it. At some point, I need to change. Now might be a good time to actually change your ATS, right? Changing your ATS is like changing the engine of a car. It's a lot easier when the car is parked. And we've actually to this point, received more RFPs in the past 2 weeks than we have in the first 2 months of the year. So there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, yep, now is the time for me to change the engine of the car.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. We launched a new platform in early 2019, and it does require migration. Super simple, can take place within 24 hours. But of course, when you're hiring rapidly, to agree to learn a new platform to migrate your data, it sounds so overwhelming. Just the opportunity costs of having to get trained on a new system. And so now we have a lot of inquiries. We've done about 8. We do about 8 a week now, so it's crazy.
Nice.
Volume. Yeah. On the flip side, people are not hiring as much. Definitely there's some hiring freezes, and there are now more job seekers than there were 2 weeks ago. I think the last number I read was that there were 10 million people that had applied for unemployment within 2 weeks. So do you have any recommendations, Jerome, or resources that you can share for people who may be looking for a job right now?
I think the main recommendation is we're in the same boat here, and to a certain extent, when you've lost your job, you've been made redundant, you're going through a really difficult personal time. And as I was saying earlier, you didn't choose to be there, but you can choose how you respond. And so if you got laid off, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, and it's going to come back at some point, and you're going to find an amazing job. Possibly you're going to actually find a better job than you had before. So keep your chin up would be my first hope for and recommendation to people. And then use this time to reskill yourself. Like use this time to consume online training as much as you can. Like get certified in something, in a technology that you wanted, discover a new area of marketing, learn something about business planning, learn something about customer service, learn something. And so I'd set myself like 2 hours of learning per day as a cadence while at home would be really nice. And then on the job search itself, it's gonna be a journey. And so take the time to job search every day a little bit using the online platforms that are available, and don't lose sight of the fact that it is going to take until the crisis goes away for people to actually start hiring en masse. So between now and then, you got to figure out what are the few companies that are still hiring. Look to healthcare, look to delivery services, online businesses. There are a number of companies or bigger companies that are still hiring.
Yeah, I'm curious. You mentioned setting aside time for online learning. What are you learning, Jerome? What courses are you taking right now?
I actually have been too busy to learn for the last 2 weeks. So that's a good one. I've looked at some courses that came out from Coursera actually, but I haven't taken the step on mine at all. So I was busy writing or helped write a hiring success masterclass, which I wrote this book about hiring success, which got published like 2 months ago, and so I'm trying to convert the book into a class series. So I'm more on that side still, but I'll take that as a hint to go and reskill myself too.
Well, I think by writing the masterclass, you're educating, so you're doing a great service to others. So I think that is a great contribution. All right, final question for you, Jerome. So what predictions do you have about the long-term impact that this will have on the talent acquisition industry?
I think it will continue to accelerate the transition of recruiting into a more mature sales and marketing like function. I think the smart TA leaders who are going to leverage this to up their game and come out stronger when the gates of hiring reopen are going to come armed with the right approaches, the right balance of talent acquisition, so talent attraction strategy, the right collaboration and partnership with the business. And so I think we've been in this like decade-long or 2-decade-long transformation of essentially a staffing function where you fill in an employment application form and you hope to be hired into a full-on, sales and marketing function that delivers hiring success, i.e., the ability to hire amazing talent at scale. I think that's going to accelerate. Because in every crisis, there's an opportunity, and the ones who react well and fast will come out stronger. I think that will accelerate the transition of our industry. And I'm actually quite positive. It's going to be a rough year for most of us, but it's going to end up being a really defining moment in time.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more, and appreciate your positivity, your energy, your optimism, and your entrepreneurialism. So thank you so much, Jerome. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. And I hope to talk to you soon, hopefully in person after the crisis is over. Hope to see you again at your beautiful offices in San Francisco. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me, Danielle.